Well, I'm excited to be going on in our series, Welcome Home. And so we're kind of taking the next step in the conversation. And I had shared last week with you that, I've been the lead pastor for 5 years, but my experience has been as we've done these things called guest nights where we come together and have dinner and get to know each other, or you come to our connection point where you get to know more about the church. And if you've never been to one of those, I would encourage you to make some time and join us because it's a great way for you to hear more about Bethel, meet our staff, get to know kind of what we're about, what our vision and our heart is. But at these events, what I typically hear people say over and over again is that when we walked into the church, we felt at home. And that's kind of a statement that's really interesting and very powerful because they feel at home. Why is that? Sometimes we don't know how else to articulate it. But when we look at how mankind is made, how you and I are made, we're made up of 3 parts. We have the body, the soul, and the spirit. The body is to relate to creation. The spirit is to relate to God. And the soul is to relate to both creation and God. And so in that, when you walk into a church and you walk into, a healthy church, what happens is internally, you just feel like you're at home. Because you're surrounded by other people who have come home in a healthy relationship with God, and it is impacting their life. So we're gonna kind of look at what that all means. And last week, we kind of really dialed into Luke 15. We're gonna continue in that throughout this series. But in Luke 15, this is what we see happen for those of you who may not be familiar. Jesus is sitting at a table with tax collectors and sinners having a meal. Now, I just find it interesting that God the Bible puts it right there next to their tax collectors and sinners. He puts them together there. They're sitting there eating, they're hanging out. But then off to the side, there's these religious leaders and they're grumbling. Because in Middle Eastern culture, who you ate with said a lot about who you were. So he's hanging out, eating with tax collectors and sinners. They're grumbling about it. So Jesus begins to tell 3 parables, all right? And we looked at the first 2 of those last week. We looked at where he talked about there was a shepherd who lost a sheep and he goes to find it. He goes to seek it. He finds it. And then he comes back and says, I found the sheep. Let's throw a party. Let's celebrate, all right? Then we see a second story there that he talks about a woman lost a coin. So she literally rips apart the house to go find it. She finds it, and then she finds her friends and says, hey, I found my lost coin. I am so excited. Let's throw a party, all right? There's a cool theme here. The parties are okay in church, okay? All right, all right? Look at your neighbor and say, parties are okay. Go ahead, all right? Some of you are going, not some of the parties I've been to, no. But I'm telling you, this is what God has a celebratory nature. And what I'm excited about is that when we come home, when we walk into a place, a healthy church, and we feel at home, we feel welcomed home, what happens is we're coming home because the spirit inside of us, the soul part of us that connects with God is leaping because we're connecting with the Spirit of God. We don't even know how to articulate that yet. What is so amazing to me in those stories is that it combats the traditional view of religion. And that is, hey, if you work hard enough, if you look hard enough, you'll eventually find God. But what the gospel of Jesus does is it turns that on its head and he comes after us. The Father, is the one who comes to find us. Like the shepherd who went to go find the sheep, like the person who went to go find the coin, that is our Father in heaven. He comes to seek and save that which is lost. You and I have been lost at times. And I am so thankful that there's a God who comes looking for you and I. Anybody else excited about that? We're gonna try that again. Okay. There's a God who comes to look for us, and I am excited about that. Are you excited about that? All right. Man, we're almost gonna get the wave started over here. We'll get it going, all right? Now, but that's exciting to me, and I hope that